Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I grew up in a small town in Kansas, and perhaps the most respected person in the city was our family physician, Dr. Norman Overholser. Dr. Overholser had delivered my brother, my sister, and of course me. He'd saved my life. He'd saved many people's lives. By the time I was in 9th grade, I knew I wanted to be just like Dr. Overholser. I worked hard, and with the support of my family and friends, was able to get into medical school. And by the time I was a second-year resident, I was supposed to decide what type of physician was I going to be. Go back to February of 1987, and we had our first baby, a little girl named Lauren. And the second she was born, the moment I heard her first cry, I said, "This is what I want to do. I want to deliver babies the rest of my life." So as an obstetrician, for the next 30 years, every day I got to see 10, 20, 40, sometimes 50 pregnant women. It was a great experience, and there were some very special visits that I really looked forward to with those moms. Their first visit for a first-time mom was always a special moment. The moms came in, they had a twinkle in their eyes, and they may have been throwing up for 3 or 4 or 5 days already, but there was still a sparkle in their eye and excitement. And sometimes I would get to do a sonogram at that first visit, and believe it or not, about a month after conception, you can see a baby's heartbeat. They would come back at about 12 weeks for their next visit, and by then their nausea was improving, and we could hear a baby's heartbeat on the Doppler for the first time. They came back again at about 18 weeks, and I would ask them, "Do you feel the baby move yet?" And again, the mom's eyes would sparkle that they're feeling that baby move. And I would notice when I would touch the mom, when I would touch the baby would push back. And if there was maybe a brother or sister in the room, if that brother or sister spoke, I could feel the baby move. I could actually hear the heart rate increase of that little baby inside that mom. And then, of course, later on, the favorite moment of my entire life was always getting to hear that first cry of that newborn and give that baby to a proud mom and dad. So those are great times. Mr. Speaker, I'm often asked, when do I think life begins? And I hope you can relate to the stories I just shared, that I don't have any other choice but to believe that life begins at conception, and that those babies are people, and they deserve our respect and our protection. Mr. Speaker, this week we'll be welcoming 200,000 people to Washington, D.C. in the March for Life. And I want to especially salute some students that are coming from Beloit, Kansas and Concordia, Kansas. Like many students, they'll be riding a bus for 24 hours. And I'm so proud of them, and I look forward to seeing them. And just appreciate their efforts and putting their actions, their words into actions. Mr. Speaker, as a doctor of over 25 years, I've delivered thousands of babies, and I certainly understand the responsibility I have as a member of Congress to protect the life of the unborn. In the last 2 years, this House, thanks to a Republican majority, has passed countless bills to limit abortion, end taxpayer-subsidized abortion, and prohibit abortions of unborn babies over 20 weeks. Unfortunately, these bills never made it to the President's desk. Today, the United States is one of 7 countries in the world, that allow babies old enough to feel pain and survive outside the womb to be torn limb to limb. The list of 7 includes China, North Korea, Singapore, Vietnam, and a list of other human rights offenders that our nation, this country, should not be proud to be part of. Each year, more than 600,000 abortions are performed across this country, costing our country precious lives. The fact is, only 1 in 7 Americans support legal under all circumstances Roe versus Wade, and still Congress refuses to act. Over the course of my first term, I made it a top priority to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, and I'll continue to do so. Abortions are an injustice to the unborn and are a complete disregard for life. Congress should prevent taxpayer money from ever being funneled into immoral organizations like Planned Parenthood, and finally put an end to abortion. I will unapologetically stand with the children, with these babies who do not have a voice of their own to fight. I yield back.